Right, morning in Las Vegas. It is Mother's Day, and just after 8 o'clock, I'm Brian Feldman. This is Out of Line. We are here live every Sunday morning, 8 to 9 o'clock on Fox Sports Radio, 98.9 FM, 1340 AM, flagship of the Vegas Golden Knights. Happy Mother's Day. I guess I shouldn't say that to you. I'm actually saying it to myself. It is my first Mother's Day of being a grandfather. I want to wish happy Mother's Day to my daughter out there, to all the mothers out there in Las Vegas. Great morning, beautiful day outside, and everyone's probably getting up, getting ready for brunch, and I still got to pick up a Mother's Day gift. But, hey, listen, we are coming to you live tonight from, I should say this morning, from Kickers Gaming and Sports Bar, which is just down the road from Cashman Center and the Neon Boneyard. The address is 931 North Las Vegas Boulevard. Kickers has been and will continue to be our home until further notice. Due to COVID-19 protocol, all live shows have been booted from the Fox Sports Residential Bancorp studio. So if you're up and mobile, come on down and join us. We'll hook you up with some free orange juice and donuts down here at Kickers. They've got Bloody Mary and mimosa specials as well. So definitely come on down and check us out. Joining me today in place of Caleb Herring, who is his schedule got tilted upside down, as most of you know right now, but Spencer, the Wiz Ostrovsky, the only intern in the country with his own theme music.
Nobody beats the Wiz. Nobody beats the Wiz.
And they get a hold of that, listen to it.
So the best place to get a hold of me for delivering sports is go to grabit.com. That's grabet.com. You can also catch our past broadcasts on there as well. So again, grabit.com, grabet.com.
And again, also joining us, it's kind of a privilege today, man. He's social distancing back in the Force Residential Bancorp studio this morning, but we are honored to have the one and only Doug Douglas, the acting sports program director at Lotus Broadcasting right now, and among many other hats that the guy wears, Doug is also the voice in the press box at T-Mobile Arena for all Vegas Golden Knights home games, and he's got that wonderful task of trying to pronounce everyone's name. Of all the leagues, the National Hockey League has to be the most difficult to pronounce names, and Doug does a great job. You can tell he definitely does his due diligence before the Vegas Golden Knights game. Hopefully we're going to try to have Doug on if I can hear him and stuff. We have some issues here once in a while with our internet, but we'll check it out. Also, speaking of that, you can watch the show on Facebook Live. The page is called Out of Line. That's OUTTALINE. You can also follow the show on Instagram and Twitter, and that's at Out of Line Fox LV. And since we are live, your calls and questions are welcome. The Fox Sports Residential Bancorp studio line is 702-876-1340.
Hi, this is Bubby, and it's time for What's on Tap.
Yeah, What's on Tap is brought to you by title sponsor Residential Bancorp, funding America one neighborhood at a time. Whether you're refinancing the home you currently own or you're looking to purchase a new home, give us a call at Residential Bancorp, 702-964-5720. Again, funding America one neighborhood at a time, and right now offering $2,500 in closing costs, towards your closing costs for any purchase that you make in any program you qualify, as long as it's in the state of Nevada. But on tap, hats were on the ice last night at T-Mobile Arena for a Vegas Golden Knights original team member. Really cool, his first ever hat trick. We'll talk about that. And the Vegas Golden Knights right now 4 points up on their number one rival, the Colorado Avalanche. And as a matter of fact, they play them tomorrow night again. We'll talk all about that. Also, a big fight last night took place in Texas, unifying all belts. We'll talk about that as well. I'm not I don't know. I don't get into boxing like I used to anymore, but it was a big fight, and we'll bring that up as well. And there's a guy who doesn't want to be a quarterback anymore for the team he's been playing for his entire career. We talked to him a couple of times, And some people say he's the best quarterback playing in the NFL right now. I'm not quite sure about that. I think there's some young guns that are a little bit better, but it'll be shocking if this guy doesn't play for his team. We'll talk about that as well. And, of course, Jim Gemma, the media relations director for the Las Vegas Aviators, is going to be our guest. He'll be here at about 8:30, and the Aviators are playing baseball. They haven't played. It's amazing. They build this unbelievable new stadium, the best minor league stadium in all of baseball. I don't think there's a better stadium for minor league for AAA in all of baseball. And Jim Gemma will be here talking about that. They had a pretty good story on Thursday night. One of the players for the team, pretty amazing for the Sacramento River Cats, the team they played. But they did finally win one last night. It was an exciting game, went into extra innings. We'll have Jimmy here to talk about that. And the NBA and the NHL both winding down, getting ready for their playoffs to start very soon. Abbreviated season all around, but that's the crazy world in right now. That is what's on tap. Once again, brought to you by title sponsor, Residential Bancorp, funding America one neighborhood at a time. And before we get going, Spencer, with a nightcap, just want to mention once again, Kickers Gaming and Sports Bar. This place is awesome. One of the very few standalone sports bars in downtown Las Vegas, right down the road, as we mentioned, from the Cashman Center and the Neon Boneyard. And both Dylan Reese, Jennifer Metzger do a great job with this place. It is awesome. You can see some of the kind of graffitied wall behind us, but they're a Packers bar during football season. They've got the Sunday ticket. They give away Packers bling and paraphernalia and things along those lines. During hockey season, even though it's an intimate atmosphere, and eventually they'll open up to a larger capacity crowd, about 50% capacity right now, they also have the NHL package, and they show every Vegas Golden Knights game in here. For all Vegas Golden Knights games, it's $2 shots throughout the game. But every time the Vegas Golden Knights score, and they've scored a lot of goals this year, it's free shots when you're in here. Last night you would have gotten 4 of them, 3 of them thanks to a player we're going to talk about in a minute. But great place to watch the game. They've got 15 big screen TVs, 17 gaming machines, all active, and they even got a photo booth. You can come on down here and take a picture. But it is just down the road from everything that's happening downtown. And also they've got their tavern license, full service. So meaning any beer that they sell here in the bar, they can actually sell for you to take home with them as well. This place is awesome. Come on down and check it out. If you can't make it down at 8 for some of the show, like some of the other patrons down here, definitely come down and check the place out. But Spencer, let's get right to it, man. The Vegas Golden Knights, get to nightcap.
Hockey players, as you know, are warriors. They don't give up. They come to play every game.
It's time for Nightcap, a cupful of the Vegas Golden Knights. From highlights to interviews to special events, the puck starts here.
There's Carrier, trying to feed it on goal. Husso holds. Tight score! Smith put it in front. Kolasar was there, and they jammed it over the goal line. Both in St. Louis. First game ever in Vegas for him tonight. Out down low, puck jammed on net. Smith scores on his own rebound. Riley Smith jams it in. His second of the night. Empty net chance for the open net, and he scores with a hat trick. Off the post and in for the empty netter, and the first hat trick of his career for Riley Smith.
Yeah, Spencer, it was so cool. Riley Smith, one of the original Vegas Golden Knights. And to see him get a goal, he was on the magical line that first year. And then if that, even Peter DeBoer has taken over for Gerard Gallant, has kept that line pretty much intact. They switch it up every now and again, but Jonathan Marchessault, Riley Smith, and William Karlsson has been one of the best lines in hockey over the past 4 seasons. The 3 of them gel real well together, and it was really nice to see Riley Smith last night get his first hat trick. The 3rd goal did come on an empty netter when St. Louis was down by 2, but it was so cool. Not a ton of hats on the ice, but a lot of hats on the ice considering you've still got a limited crowd capacity there. I don't know if Doug can hear us back in studio, if he's able to join the show or not. But, Doug's been watching this team for 4 years. He's been at just about every home game as he is the press box announcer for the Vegas Golden Knights. He's the guy that announces the game in the press box. Doug has his own unique way of doing it, which is really cool. But I know he's a big fan as well as most of us are in the media. We're not supposed to admit to that. We're working media, but that was incredible, and I was so happy for Riley Smith. Doug, are you able to hear us back there?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Doug, what was that like, man, last night seeing Riley Smith, one of the more quiet, very humble players for the Golden Knights, although a lot of the guys in this team are pretty humble characters. But to see a guy like Riley Smith get that hat trick last night, pretty cool, right?
It was amazing. I'll say this. First of all, some people that throw those hats, I'm amazed at how far away they can throw those hats from. It's just amazing that they can soar that much, but it was great. Yeah, Riley Smith, it was an empty netter, but who cares? But the biggest game of the year coming up Monday night is if they can win that, they will lock up the Western Conference or Western Division title, and it should be a great game Monday. But yeah, it is great to see, the original people doing that. A lot of fun.
No, it really is. And, that, like I said, that line has been magical for 4 years. That first year when Carlson got the 41 goals and came out of nowhere, and him and Jonathan Marchessault and, again, Riley Smith, it was like, I don't want to over cliche something, but it was poetry in motion, man. Those three guys just gelled immediately, and somehow that line has stayed intact. As, there's been a mix-up. A lot of things have changed for the Golden Knights. I mean, to me, they got their most valuable player last year when they were able to get Mark Stone, the greatest acquisition I think this team has made, and the most fitting guy to be the first guy to wear a C for this team. Doug, I love what I'm seeing with this Vegas Golden Knights team this year. The one thing that's maybe a little tiny bit bothersome is you have three of the best teams in the NHL in this Western Division with the Avalanche and, of course, the Minnesota Wild, and they're going to eliminate each other, which makes it easy a little bit easier on the rest of the NHL.
Yeah, that's true, but that's sports. I mean, you never know from year to year. And I will say this. The Vegas Golden Knights have dominated St. Louis recently, but a lot of those games have gone to overtime. So you're just looking at a puck doing something one way or the other. It should set up for great playoffs. And, you look at some of the injuries they're getting late. That's what makes you nervous. You look at, Peyton Krebs, man, he got popped in the face yesterday. We'll see how long he's out for. We'll see how long Ryan Reeves is still out for. Max Pacioretty, Tomas Nosek. It's you need to get those players back mucho pronto.
You do. One of the things I've noticed lately, and hey, I loved when they picked up Robin Lehner last year. I said, it's great. It's amazing how instead of upsetting him, like guys get upset when their heir apparent comes aboard, and everyone said that he's the future of the Vegas Golden Knights, at least the foreseeable near future, Robin Lehner last year. Marc-Andre Fleury just gets lit up, and Tom Brady-esque is he's now into his late 30s, 7 concussions deep into a career, and this guy is playing again some of the best hockey of his career. It seems like that's becoming old hat because I seem to always be saying that. But I think what we've seen, even though the Knights pulled one out in overtime at the end of the game when Marchessault scored on Friday night, I still thought 2 of the goals let up by Leonard were kind of soft. You don't see Marc-Andre Fleury give up very many soft goals. I just think Marc-Andre Fleury, once again, heading into the postseason, has really put himself and cemented himself, Doug, as the number one goaltender for this team. I definitely think Leonard will get a lot of games. I don't think they're going to play Fleury every night, but I think if you had to ask DeBoer who's his number one goaltender right now, it's got to be Marc-Andre Fleury, right?
I would agree. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of rotation they have in the playoffs. It's so benefited the Golden Knights this year to have in this shortened, condensed season to have the tandem, except when Leonard was injured, of course. But I agree. Right now, Fleury has to be your number one. I mean, he has been outstanding, and you're right, a renaissance year, just like Tom Brady. And let's hope that the results, even though I have to be impartial. Well, actually, I don't. I work for the team. I don't have to be impartial. Let's hope the results can be the same Brady-esque.
Well, I don't work for the team in any way, shape, or form. I just do a show on the radio on the station that houses the radio network. But I admit all the time. I mean, I'm from Detroit, which is called Hockey Town. I tell people, and a lot of my friends back in Detroit, they're shocked at how much I like the Golden Knights. But, I had lived here for a while before they came. And it's not like, and not that I don't like the Raiders being here. I think it's unbelievable for the city. But, they're an adopted franchise where the Vegas Golden Knights were a founded franchise here in Las Vegas. No team in history in any sport anywhere as an expansion team has ever accomplished what the Vegas Golden Knights have accomplished to this point. Once again, they're going to go into the Stanley Cup playoffs as a team that is expected to do well. And if they won the Stanley Cup, there's not anyone out there who would be even remotely shocked. Saying that in itself, Doug, as a longtime sports fan, you've been around the station for a long time. This is one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. And to come in the wake of October 1st of 2017, and watch what not only happened with this hockey team, but what happened with this city, and the hockey team kind of cemented all. It has been one of the most magical historical things I've ever seen in my life. And when I tell people all the time, I am honored to have had the opportunity to be around this franchise and be able to talk about them on the radio for the last 4 years. It has been one of the most incredible things in my life, and I'm over a half a century old, so that's pretty big.
Yes, first of all, congratulations on being a grandparent. And secondly, you're 100% right. I grew up being an LA Kings fan in Southern California. And that did help me get the job because I knew how to pronounce, when they first said, how do you say this name? I'm like, Kachuk. And they're like, okay, well, that's a good start, But that year one was so magical, and there were so many intangibles that it's so hard to, and as you said, it is a big deal that it's Vegas Borden. It's not another team. And I will say this, a lot of people in Vegas weren't hockey fans, so they didn't have the ties like, you to Detroit and me to LA at the beginning. So they came on fresh, and that's where the Raiders do have a little bit of more of a problem, because a lot of people are tied to their football team for decades. But the Knights came in here, they established, you're right, something that had never been seen before, and they have captured the hearts of Las Vegas, and we'll see how they can do in the playoffs. And as you know, and as I know, being a former Kings fan, that when they were seeded 8th, they won the cup one time. Boy, once the playoffs come, that's where the hot goalie, that's where anything can happen, and you reset the season, and you'll see what happens.
No, there's absolutely no question, Doug. I've said that on the show before. The NHL is the one sport where, because you've got to put the puck in the net, and a hot goaltender can make all the difference. And as you said, really would put, hockey on the map in the West Coast. Yes, people say, well, when Wade Gretzky came and joined the Kings, that really, opened people's eyes up. But really, it was what Jonathan Quick did with that LA Kings team, where basically they made the playoffs on the last day of the season out of the 8-hole, and they end up winning the whole thing. He wins the Vezina Trophy. That was one of the most magical seasons ever. I was a huge LA Kings fan then, obviously not so much now, although this year the Golden Knights have owned the LA, or I should say the California teams, which has been kind of nice. But that really brought hockey to the forefront on the West Coast, those two LA Kings Stanley Cups, and now the Vegas Golden Knights. Everyone's out here as a fan. And I talked to a lot of people, like, we are getting very spoiled. And I could say it's the Las Vegas community is getting very spoiled. And at some point in time, this team can't be successful forever. The two constants in life are time passes and things change. And eventually we will come back down to earth, all of us here in Las Vegas. But hey, while we're up in the clouds, this is magical. And as Doug mentioned, the Vegas Golden Knights can clinch the Western Division tomorrow night with a victory. They're 4 points up right now. They have 2 games left. They play tomorrow against Colorado. They go on the road for their final game against San Jose. But Colorado has 3 games left and actually also control their own destiny. If Colorado wins 3 games, even if the Golden Knights win against San Jose on Wednesday night and they lose against Colorado wins 3 games. And after the Golden Knights game, their next 2 games are winnable, as they play 2 games at home against the Los Angeles Kings. They would win the Western Division, and that would really suck if that happened, because the Golden Knights have played so well. 10 victories in a row, something they had never done before. And I'm hoping they can get the job done. Tomorrow is such a key pivotal game. Plus, it's also a statement game heading into the postseason, as a lot of people feel that it'll be the Golden Knights and the Avalanche in the Western Division Championship. But I wouldn't count on that, because, again, Minnesota is that good, and they've also been a thorn in the backside of the Golden Knights this entire season. But I have not been looking forward to hockey playoffs, Doug, this much, even the past couple seasons, as much as I am this season, because I really feel this is their best chance to win. The acquisition of Mark Stone, Max Pacioretty, Alex Pietrangelo, Alec Martinez, this team has just geared themselves with veterans and stars that all play together so well. They are as geared up and as programmed for the Stanley Cup, I think, in their 4 years of existence.
I agree. And Mark Stone, you're 100%. You hit it right on the head. I mean, that guy, the intangibles, and that's where, if you're a fan and lucky enough to go see him play off the puck, that's the great thing about hockey, to watch it live. Off the puck, you can see how valuable players really are. And Mark Stone is, that full ice player, as they like to say. Both, the puck can be very far away, and he is still doing great. Let me say this one other thing, Brian. I've been to Kickers, love it down there, great place. And we'll see if I'm a superstar here, because I'm going to attempt to get your guest here on the phone here. And it's been a while since I've worked the phones here, so give me a minute here. And great talking to you, Brian. And hopefully you'll be talking to Jim Gemma here in a few minutes.
That's great. I appreciate you, Doug. Of course, Doug Douglas, been with Lotus forever. Every time they're in between program directors, Doug takes the job over. Everyone there wishes he would just take it permanently, but he's got so many hats that he wears and things he enjoys doing. He doesn't always get to do them because of the responsibilities of being the sports program director with Lotus Broadcasting and the 3 sports stations they do have there. But Spencer, in closing up on the Golden Knights and talking about this, this team, and he mentioned Mark Stone. Mark Stone, what he was saying is the best two-way player, in my opinion, in the National Hockey League. Yes, you have Connor McDavid. Yes, you have Austin Matthews. Yes, you still have Alex Ovechkin, who is still playing great. Sidney Crosby, still decent. But as far as two-way players, Mark Stone is good on every aspect. When he's playing shorthanded, he's playing the point on shorthanded. He goes back and plays defense. He's an amazing player and probably one of the most unsung players in the National Hockey League, where if the Golden Knights get over that hump and win the Stanley Cup, everybody's going to be talking about Mark Stone. And I've already said, I've got a Marc-Andre Fleury jersey. I've got a William Karlsson jersey. I don't have a red jersey yet. I'm getting a red Mark Stone jersey with the C. The best acquisition this team has made. And if they win the Stanley Cup or they make a deep run through the playoffs, as important as goaltending is going to be on the back end, Mark Stone is that important on the front end for this team and getting goals, setting up goals. I don't think there is a more important player besides your goaltender than Mark Stone on this team.
Yeah, actually, as I was watching the game last night, I just thought about how unfair it would be to play against the Golden Knights when you have Mark Stone and Pietrangelo. The way those guys are able to poke their sticks and get pucks just out of people's ways, and they just get it for possessions for the out of the wall. But I enjoy it now because the end. But it's great to see the Golden Knights play so well.
Well, I want to get Jim on here as soon as Doug gets
He's
on.
ready. He's ready.
Jim's on. Okay, we'll come back. I do want to talk about in time. It is something we should discuss. As I said, I'm not nearly enamored with professional boxing as I've been throughout my whole life as I am right now. Although pound for pound, Canelo Alvarez is one of the best fighters probably in existence right now in today's world. So it is noteworthy. But something I really want to talk about this a couple of years ago out here in Vegas, the most amazing minor league stadium was constructed. We got to watch it from the ground up. It was amazing, the speed and the efficiency they built the stadium with. And then when it was finished, it was a miniature version of as nice of a major league stadium as you're going to see. You've got the pool in the outfield. That the scoreboard is as beautiful as it comes. Everything is amazing about this. And then there's a pandemic. And after year one, there is no year two. And our guy, Jim Gemma, the media relations director for the Aviators, prior to that with the 51s, been around involved in this ball club for so long, is going to join us right now on the Fox Sports Residential Bancorp studio line. And Jimmy, it's got to be nice to be getting back to work finally.
Yeah, Brian, first, thanks for having me on. I think, minor league baseball, even like the major league sports, the 120 teams in minor league baseball, they employ a lot of people. There's a lot of arteries to this, part-time jobs, seasonal jobs. But the best part is the players are back on the field. They lost a year. A lot of these guys lost a year out of their prime of their career. Probably pales in comparison to what other things people went through. But on the scope of sports, it is great to have minor league baseball back on the field and have these guys playing.
There's no doubt it was so much fun. You couldn't have asked for a more perfect night than Thursday night to have your guys opener for the season. And then there was a great story, a backstory with the Sacramento River Cats. Drew Robinson, a person who attempted suicide just a year ago back, lost an eye, and was out playing right field. His mother at the game. What a tremendous feel-good story, and what a way to bring baseball back to Las Vegas.
Yeah, he was working out over the winter. Of course, Chris Bryant's always out here over the winter months. Dexter Fowler. We have so many minor league players. So he was actually out here working out when we had our little media get-together in February. So he got his first hit of the season last night. He made good contact, made a diving catch in left field. So it's really good to see. And obviously, we wish him all the best. There's so many players in the minor league system from the state of Nevada now. And, yeah, we're going to play our first day game today. First time in 20 months and 1 day, probably. I think that's what it was. So we're just glad to be back. We're home through Tuesday. And then, like this year, we have 6-game series. Basically, a team's here for a week, and then we have off days on Wednesday. And the team will go up to Reno starting next Thursday to start a road trip up there.
Yeah, I mean, minor league season is really packed in as it is, but kind of wild now. It's going to be 6 days on, 1 day off, and that's pretty consistent looking at the schedule for them. I mean, 6 games against the same team, but instead of where it would be a home-and-home series where they travel, it's 6 games all at the same place, and obviously they're doing that based on the situation the world is in right now. Jimmy, how has it been managing this season, knowing you've got to have limited capacity to a degree at the Las Vegas ballpark? Has it made things a little more difficult for you?
Well, the first 2 homestands, this one through Tuesday, then we go to Reno. Then we're home. Our only other home series here in May is May 20th through 25th for Salt Lake. Then we go on a long trip. So make a long story short, we come back till June 10th. So as you know, that June 1st date or in around there, everything could change. So hopefully we're not going to be at 50% too much longer. Obviously the Atlanta Braves that don't put up 100%. If T-Mobile can get 7,000 or 8,000 people in an indoor venue and we're outside, that bodes well for us in June. So hopefully we're not going to be in the 50% capacity very much longer.
No, and I think we're seeing that. I mean, we saw about 70 some odd thousand people at a stadium in Texas last night. I was kind of shocked about that, but that's a different story that we'll talk about in a little bit. The Aviators this year, Jim, they started off first game of the season, didn't a little bit cold at the plate, had 2 high-scoring affairs since then, and here in their first win, they win it in dramatic fashion in 10 innings. What can people expect from this year's Aviators team? And again, we know guys go up and down, guys come down to rehab, but from what you're seeing initially, what do you think people should expect?
Yeah, there's a lot of, I would say, 30, 40% of this team played in Midland in 2019, which is a AA affiliate of the A's. So I think these guys are just getting acclimated to playing again, to real competition, that being real competition. Some of these guys were at the alternate site last year in that 60-game sprint season. So I think they're just trying to get, lack of a better word, their sea legs back. And it's got to feel great to play against teams and games that count, statistics that count. So that all bodes well. And it always is helpful. I don't even say helpful, but it's always good when the parent club is playing well. And the A's are incredible. Billy Beane and David Force, the GM, they just lose pieces and they just plug in new pieces and they keep winning. So that's just a great organization, the A's. And I just hope they get that new ballpark there in the next 2 or 3 years. It's going in that direction, and that only helps all of us when we're their AAA affiliate.
No, I agree 100%. And, Billy Beane, obviously they made Moneyball about the guy, and as good of a general manager has turned down big money to stay with the A's. He loves that challenge of putting a team together on lesser of a budget than some of the other teams. And what a cool deal to get the A's here as the AAA affiliate for the Oakland A's. But Jimmy, going forward, one of the things that Las Vegas has been great for you had it down at Cashman Field when they played there, is the promotions, the different things you do for the Las Vegas community that come out and check out the Las Vegas ballpark. Limited capacity now, hopefully in June they'll get up to full capacity, but what things can we look forward to as fans to see at the Las Vegas ballpark this year?
Well, we had a good fireworks show the other night. It was a good brief show because of the wind. The wind cooperated, so we had a good show. So we're definitely having fireworks going forward. We're hoping to reinstall, lack of a better word, the $2 Thursday night beer. And we do have promotions in store, some Jersey nights and other goodies on the list. Just waiting, as you said, the capacity percentage go up more because we want to do the first 2,500 fans through the gate. So hopefully that'll all come together this summer. It's crazy we're saying this summer because it's next month is summer. So it's actually a good thing because next month, that means this year's halfway over already, and we're already past that nightmare of 2020. So the light is at the end of the tunnel, Brian, for sure.
Social media, we're getting a few questions, Jimmy, and they're all evolving around tickets. How do people get tickets? And, being that we don't know what's going to happen after June 1st, although we're kind of surmising that, once they come back in June and they have that long hiatus away from Las Vegas, there'll be more tickets available. That's the best way for people to get involved and get out to see the Aviators play.
Yeah, obviously the first two homestands, the next one May 20th to 25th, very limited individual game tickets. First and foremost, the Aviators organization had to accommodate the season ticket holders. They're a great base. A lot of them credited their tickets to this year, and they've been really loyal. So the greater majority of the tickets for the first two homestands, for obvious reasons, are going to the season ticket holders. And like we said, once the capacity can go up, 70% or more than it is now, that's when the individual game tickets and everything else kind of starts rolling in, and ticket availability will be much easier to get. That's why, like we said, after that May 25th game, we're not home till June 10th. So during that time, I know we'll be sending stuff out or ticketing folks about the individual game tickets. It will just free up more opportunities to get tickets throughout the ballpark. So I would, my best suggestion is to just stay tuned and check on aviatorslv.com or ticketmaster.com.
Joined by Jim Gemma, Media Relations Director for the Las Vegas Aviators today. Jimmy, we appreciate one other question. Drew from Summerlin just asked about booking the pool area for an Aviators game. How does somebody go about doing that?
Yeah, that's a great way to do it. Hopefully we'll get back up to the max of 50. Right now it's limited in there, but 943-7200, 702-943-7200. It's been people have been in the pool the last two nights, so definitely call that number, and I know that'll book up quick once it gets really hot, but that's the best way to go with that.
There you go. Jimmy, we appreciate you as always. We'll see you out at the Las Vegas ballpark. First afternoon game today at 12:05. Going to be cool. And if you haven't gotten out there, as soon as you do get the opportunity, it is an amazing facility. And not that Cashman at the end, they did a great job taking care of the field, but it's a whole new experience. You're talking about a miniature Major League ballpark in Summerlin here in Las Vegas. Pretty incredible. Jimmy, as always, thanks for joining the show, my friend.
Brian, thanks for having me on. It was good seeing you up at the press box on opening night, and I'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Jim Gemma, again, Media Relations Director for the Las Vegas Aviators. They do such a great job over there. And it is cool. I mean, even as a kid growing up, and again, I'm dating myself, but I loved the Oakland A's when I was a kid. They never affected the Tigers. They were in the West. So, the only time we would ever see them would be in the postseason, which in 1972, God, I remember that game we did. And that was back when Charles Finley owned the team. All of them had handlebar mustaches. They were one of the most character teams in the history of baseball, in my opinion. And they had these great names. You had Vita Blue, Riley Blue Moon Odom, Catfish Hunter. I mean, Raleigh Fingers. They just Gene Tennis. I miss that team tremendously, and it's so cool to be a part of them. And as you mentioned, Billy Beane, I got an opportunity, as you know, Spencer, to interview Billy Beane when they, before the stadium even opened. They brought down the Oakland A's brass, and couldn't have been a nicer guy. And I remember talking to him like, how cool is it that they made a movie about you, And he's like, oh, it was so cool. I'm like, no, that's not what was cool. What's cool is Brad Pitt played you. I mean, if they tell you they're making a movie about you and Brad Pitt is going to star as you in the movie, they're basically saying you're a stud. So, I mean, and he smiled. He said he got to spend a week with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, and what a good guy. What a good ordeal. And Jimmy Gemma, talk about a good guy, a great guy that does such a great job accommodating everybody in the media in a town where, and I'm not going to mention any franchise, but people tend to be a bit sports media condescending. I don't know how to phrase that. Jim Gemma has never been that way. It's always accommodating. He's always looking to accommodate, take care of people, and he runs himself ragged doing it. One of the best in the business, and people should go to him to take lessons on how to be a media relations director for a team because he really does it right. He talks to all the people. He responds to every email that you send out, and I love the guy, and I think most of us involved in the media here in Las Vegas, Jim Gemma is a big part of that, and most of us know him, and most of us have a great deal of respect for him. He does a great job, but yeah, really good story with Drew Robinson the other night. The night I saw him was kind of a bummer. You weren't there, Spencer, but we he struck out 4 times, and the last time he was frustrated, flipped the bat in the air. I'm glad that he got his first hit last night. And like as you said, Mother's Day for his parents to be in town and see this 29-year-old outfielder after nearly taking his life last year, missing an eye to do this. It is pretty incredible, and and hats off to him. But Spencer, let's run fact this because something we need to talk about here before we get to the and we will. Well, actually, before you run fact this, just real quickly regarding the fight last night. What amazed me about that fight last night was the crowd in Texas and how they Spencer, how do you let so many people in a building? We're still in a pandemic. And granted, last night over Saunders, Canelo Alvarez, he's got the WBO belt. He's got all the belts for the super middleweight class. It's really cool. He's a undisputed super middleweight champion, WBA, WBC. But over 73,000 people they let into AT&T Stadium in Arlington to watch a boxing match. Is that a little disturbing to you?
This is a multifaceted issue. I think it's a fallacy to think that it's one way or the other. On some level, look, it's scary, right? The pandemic has claimed a lot of people's lives, but on another, side, people see some sort of reward for getting the vaccine, right? Like, so I've gotten the vaccine, my parents are getting the vaccine soon, and since people have gotten the vaccine, nothing has changed, right, for the majority of Americans, and that can be very frustrating. So when you see something like this, you see scary feeling, and that we are going in the right direction. And I think it also adds a bit of normalcy. I mean, mental health has obviously been a huge issue throughout this. And when people see life going back to normal, that may be a huge encouragement for them. Look, you hope everybody was safe. You hope everybody there had the vaccine to help, obviously not spread COVID-19. And I don't know, but it was, I got to tell you, when I saw it initially, my first thought was, this is horrifying. It's, wow, like this is probably the first major sport event that I've seen that felt like a major sporting event, not this kind of like quarantined box of whatever you want to call it. You could say for NHL, football, and basketball, they've all had these sporadic. I felt human spirit as Alvarez in the 8th round put his hands up in the air to get the crowd pumped, saying like, "Here we are, we're here in the moment, and it's exciting, and we all love it." That is the good part about it.
Well, Alvarez did win the fight, and Saunders could not answer the bell going into the 8th round. He couldn't see out of his eye. But, Spencer, I'm not going to disagree with you that maybe it brought back some normalcy, and we saw that there. But, really, just a little bit before, a week before, we had some issues with the UFC down in Florida. And Dana White having that was printed out in the Review Journal, a disclaimer basically saying, I accept the fact that I might get COVID and letting everyone in. You see people in there without masks at the UFC fight. And my biggest issue with that is a writer for the Review Journal that does some work at Lotus, wrote an article about it and talked about it and actually printed the disclaimer. That's how I initially saw it. And I thought Dana White was a complete ass, what he did afterwards to call him out and basically threaten to not give him credentials because he was doing his job. And he was saying, hey, 15,000 people didn't care about getting COVID. That was the truth. I mean, they're signing a waiver saying, hey, we don't care. I just thought it was really pompous and crappy when the Review Journal and everyone else has backed up Dana White and the UFC here in Vegas, and to threaten and complain about it. Shame on you. And I've been shaming on this guy forever. He'll never come on my show, and I don't give a crap. I mean, the bottom line is you don't pay your fighters. We worry about the NFL and CTE. They're wearing protective headgear to prevent against brain injuries and concussions. They're going to happen because the NFL is a brutally violent sport with big, giant men hitting each other, but they do a ton of things to protect them. I've been saying for ages, what is more catastrophic? 2 guys colliding wearing protective headgear that is made to protect your brain and your cranium and prevent things like CTE or a shin bone directly to the head, because that is completely allowed in the UFC. And, I don't have a problem with it. I'm somewhat hypocritical, being the fact that I do go to the pay-per-view events. I do watch it, and I do get some enjoyment out of it. But I told my son years ago, you want to be a UFC fighter? Here's what it's like. We're going to go out in the garage. I'm going to kick the crap out of you, throw $20 on you, and have a couple of girls applaud. That's what it's like being a UFC fighter, until Dana White takes his billions of dollars and starts paying these guys properly. It's not like fighters in boxing where they fight once a year, maybe twice a year at the most. These guys fight 4 and 5 times a year. And wait till these guys are walking around the streets punch drunk without a proper plan in place, without the proper insurance. This guy is ripping them off. They make a ton of money on pay-per-view, and I can go off on this forever. But you want to rip on a writer here who's simply doing his job, Dana White? That's ridiculous. It's retarded, man. Get your S together and realize Las Vegas backs you up. This community is backed up and supported the UFC like no other. You want to put a disclaimer and be an idiot and say, okay, 15,000 people. Like I said, we can all have our own opinions on COVID, whatever it is. Several people has died from it. Call it a super flu. Call it whatever you want. Right now, we are still in somewhat of a protocol. And when you do something foolish, what I consider foolish like that, you should be called out about it. And this writer simply did his job, and I thought it was very unfair. And I want to make that point very clear, because you know what? Not that I'll boycott the UFC, but you know what? Eventually, I hope this guy starts paying his fighters and looking at the long-term effects of what this sport is going to do to the individuals that participate in it, because that hasn't been taken into account. How is it not regulated? They need a union badly to get this thing corrected, because these guys are going to be walking around punch drunk. You think we've got a problem with CTE right now in the National Football League and former players? Wait 20 years and see what's going on in the UFC. It is the biggest crime in the United States, and it is almost untouched because Dana White and his billions of dollars, a guy that used to basically be a crony for Floyd Mayweather, walk around and carry his bags. And I'm sorry, people are going to get mad at me for saying all this, but you know what? Don't rip on people here for doing their job, Dana White, while you're sitting fat and happy, and you've got a ton of fighters out there who are going to be punch drunk and have CT in the future. All right, I'm enough of that. The show's called Out of Line for a reason, people. Spencer, go ahead and hit fact this, because it is something that we should get to as well.
Fact this. If you don't like the facts, take your ass back to bed. Fact this. Fact this. If you don't like the facts, take your ass back to bed.
Okay, that's all right. Aaron Rodgers wants out of Green Bay. This is something I still don't believe is going to happen, as the Packers will not get proper compensation. And if Aaron Rodgers chooses to sit out over this and whine like an unwanted redheaded stepchild, he would owe the Packers a lot of money in incentives he's already been paid. So that's not really an option. But I want to talk about whether Aaron Rodgers is justified in wanting to leave. Because I'll tell you something. Here's something that I know from a very reliable source. Andy Dalton was informed that the Bears were going to draft Justin Fields. Andy Dalton, he should have been forced to go to the airport and pick Justin Fields up. Andy Dalton, you're going to let him know? You don't owe him crap. But Aaron Rodgers was not informed that not only were the Packers going to draft Jordan Love last year, but they were going to move up in the draft to draft Jordan Love. I can understand why that bruised him a little bit when arguably he's one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the National Football League, still getting into his late 30s, had an unbelievable run last year again with the Packers, an undermanned football team that got to the brink of the Super Bowl. So is he justified in saying, I want out of Green Bay, Spence?
Well, I mean, the reality of the situation is they have done nothing for him, at least in the first round of the draft. If you're going to trade up, I mean, he probably would have preferred for them to get Justin Jefferson. Imagine how good the Green Bay Packers would be with someone who made an All-Pro in their rookie season. Instead, they get a backup quarterback, and now he's like the only there's only 2 quarterbacks on the roster, and they're probably going to be picking up some more soon. But yes, he is. I don't think this is just about them drafting Jordan Love. I think it's about his entire tenure. You have one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Undoubtedly. He's probably in everybody's top 5 lists. you could probably go, to me is at least, one Super Bowl out of him. They've given him a really bad coach for a long time. We've seen McCarthy now that he's in Dallas. They stuck with him forever. They've always had these good regular seasons, but nothing to get it done in the postseason. Now, does some of that fall on Aaron Rodgers? Yes, I think he's 2 or 1 in 4 in conference championship games to go to the Super Bowls. But also, you got to think this is a team sport, right? A quarterback can't take you all the way there. I mean, he has carried them undoubtedly for so long. I think he's just really frustrated, and he knows. Look, he's only got probably like 4 years left of good football playing career. He doesn't take to be as good as Tom Brady for. You can't put that on Aaron Rodgers. So I would say until he's about 41 years old, you're probably going to expect some really high-level football from him. And he wants these last years of his career to be something that he can go out on. He probably wants at least one more Super Bowl. And if he doesn't, look, I championship last year, but they didn't do anything this offseason make me believe that they're going to get better than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who brought back all of their starters this offseason somehow, because Tom Brady, again, just has that kind of influence. So I don't think Green Bay has done enough, and I think Aaron Rodgers recognized that when they had their 2021 draft.
Spencer, they actually did go out in free agency, get a few players. They got a wide receiver that should be pretty good this year. They're trying to build around him, but again, they lost in the NFC Championship game. This is arguably the second or third best team in the NFC. Yeah, it might be tough to get past the Bucs, who did something no one's ever done, and that's keep all 22 starters intact, which is an amazing feat Bruce Arians helped pull off over there. I've loved him as a head coach anyways, and this team is almost a juggernaut, this Bucs team, if Tom Brady's got one more year left in him, which I think he does. But the Packers are still a playoff team and probably the best team in the NFC North. So they're looking at another postseason run. Where is he going to go? Denver? Denver's going to all of a sudden become a Super Bowl contender with Aaron Rodgers? No. Where is he going to go that needs a quarterback that can immediately put themselves in Super Bowl contention? The teams that are Super Bowl contenders are Super Bowl contenders because they've already got a quarterback in place. So really, he's in the best situation in Green Bay. I understand he got to feel like Brett Favre felt when they brought him in. So he got a little bit of, I don't want to call it cosmic karma, but Aaron, play in Green Bay. I mean, I don't mind seeing you bounce as long as you bounce out of the NFC North. God, then Justin Fields can end up being the best quarterback in the division, and that's a whole nother story, as you know my feeling. My franchise guy, Jared Goff. Okay, that's a whole nother show we're doing a podcast on soon, and the Detroit Lions ineptitude, but that's for a different time. As we run out of time, Spencer, we're running down. Aaron Rodgers, in my opinion, will be a Green Bay Packer this year. They'll find a way to work it out. He's calling. He wants the general manager fired, and make him happy. He is a little bit of a prima donna. We've known that for years. He had issues with his own family over disputes that I don't know enough about to talk about without just giving opinions, but he'll end up being a Green Bay Packer, and I still think the Packers, at least this next year, will end up being the class of the NFC North for whatever it's worth. But he is one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League, and the Packers will find a way to make him happy. Monetarily, it doesn't make sense for him to leave Green Bay. It just doesn't. If you look at the hits that they take and the hits that he could potentially take, it just doesn't make sense. He'll be a Green Bay Packer. So Packer fans, don't worry. Denver fans, quit getting excited. And odds makers, bring the win total under 9 for the Denver Broncos. Without Aaron Rodgers coming, which he's not going to, they're going to win 7 games at best this year. So look at that. Spencer, I want to end talking about the NBA playoffs. We'll talk way more about the National Hockey League playoffs next week. We talked enough about the Golden Knights a little bit earlier, but the basketball playoffs are really unique this year. You had LeBron out for all those teams. The Lakers haven't really been healthy, and they're trying to avoid right now. They're, I think, a game and a half behind Portland for that 6th spot in the West, and will have to play amongst 4 teams to get into the playoff seedings, because now they're letting 10 teams in each conference get in, but you got 4 teams vying for the final 2 spots. The Lakers right now on the outside looking in the West. But let me ask you something. With the Lakers, and if everyone comes back and you get, you got everyone healthy, which you should have in the postseason, are they a good enough team to make a run again? I mean, can LeBron James pull this out?
Oh, well, the thing is they're going to have to get through the play-in game first. LeBron James is not going to get back until maybe a couple of days from now. And Anthony Davis, I don't know what it is. It almost seems like when he got that kind of what he did for sure. I'm not saying he's a bad basketball player anymore, but I never thought for 1 second that basketball was Anthony Davis's number one priority. So if you're in a situation where they probably have to play the Warriors in the first game, and if they don't have a fully healthy Lakers team, Steph Curry is on a crazy run. He had 11 threes last night, scored like 43 points. So you lose that game, and then you got to play the winner of the Spurs and Grizzlies because it seems like that's going to be the second matchup. Now, that's a little easier, but you're playing 2 games to get into the playoffs. You're probably going to be a little tired. You also have to expect it. Like, they may not stay healthy throughout the entire playoffs. I'm not hugely confident in the Lakers right now. I don't like their attitude either. LeBron James, I love him on the court, but off the court, he is a total clown, talking about how he doesn't like the play-in game now that they're in it. So I don't think their head's in the right place. I do not believe the Lakers are going to be making a deep run in this year's postseason.
I'm not 100% sure. I'm not sold that they won't if LeBron comes back again, which he should in a couple days, and be healthy enough as they wind down the NBA season. All teams have about 4 to 5 games left to go in the season, so we're going to see what happens. Lakers could still slide in, although Portland's pretty determined. Damian Lillard's completely out of his mind too. But when you go to the top of the West, which you still think is the better division, I think we all do. We all agree is the better conference in basketball. Are the Utah Jazz really the best team in the NBA? Because the record says that they are. They're one of only 2 teams that hasn't lost 20 games yet. Of course, the other team is also in the West, right underneath them, the Phoenix Suns. 2 surprise teams that have that both are right there at the top of the West.
No, for sure. And because I had to get my closing thoughts really quickly here. It's hard to say because I think the West is a dumpster fire this year of just middling talent because of injuries. You can read more about my opinions on the NBA, by the way, on our website, OuttaLineFoxSportsLV.com. You'll see more in is
I still like a team like I out of the 5 hole. I love the Mavs because they got my favorite player on the team. Luka Doncic is just absolutely spectacular. A guy that can play 2 ways, getting better on defense all the time, but offensively, he's one of the most magical players in the league. And I don't know if there's many more on the Western Conference, more fun to players. And then you look over at the East, and the Philadelphia 76ers, the best team in the East. We got about a minute left to go, so tell me your thoughts on that.
I'm not a believer in the 76ers. I think the Brooklyn Nets are going to walk through the finals, and I think they're going to win it as long as they can stay healthy. If one of them is missing, they won't, but if they do, no one's going to stop them.
Bucks, huh? I would love to see that end up being a series, but more than likely that'll be a semifinal series. And I think the Bucks and the Nets will be an amazing series if you can see those 2 teams play, because I don't think the 76ers are going to get caught. They're going to end up with the number 1 seed, and that'll avoid having to play the Bucks and Nets till the conference finals. And I think the 76ers will make the conference finals, Spencer. But I agree with you. I think either the Bucks or the Nets are very capable of beating. I think when you start going down to the Knicks, the Hawks, and the Heat, you're not going to have a run like you did with the Miami Heat last year. I don't think there's a team capable that I see of making that type of run, other than maybe the Lakers in the Western Conference could go from a play-in series to the NBA title if Anthony Davis and LeBron James are both at their peak. Those guys are still an amazing dynamic duo and as good as it gets. Listen, we're out of time. I want to thank Douglas back in the studio for helping us out today, man. We had the man. I want to thank Jim Gemma, the media relations director for the Las Vegas Aviators, Spencer for sitting in with me today, and of course Dylan Reese and Jennifer Metzger for letting us do our show down here at Kickers Gaming and Sports Bar, 931 North Las Vegas Boulevard. Come on down. Great place to see all the Vegas Golden Knights game. They'll be on again tomorrow night. $2 shots during the game. Free shots every time they score a goal. I'm Brian Feldman. This is Out of Line here every Sunday, 8 to 9 on Fox Sports Radio, 98.9 FM, 1340 AM. We'll be back next week, same time, same place. See ya.